They say a man who represents himself as a fool for a client. Well, with God as my witness, I am that fool.
What's up, my Wizards Dev? From SBMTG, special thing for you today. A little while back, I did the top 5 cards that we want in Eldritch Moon. Now, that video was fairly popular, got a lot of views, but also a bunch of dislikes because I messed up a rules question or two and I made a fairly broken card or two. But there was a lot of support in the comments for me doing another one of these videos, and you guys told me what cards you wanted to see most. You gave me ideas for cards and stuff, and overall, it was a productive conversation, right? Basically, we're going to try and do that all over again, and I'll do the cards that you guys wanted to see a lot. There's a lot of support for a legendary werewolf. Everyone wants to see Liliana, and there's a bunch of other stuff too. I'm going to talk about a total of 6 cards that I've got sort of envisioned for you here, and hopefully they'll line up with what you've got envisioned. We'll talk about it at the end of the video in the comments section, but let's go ahead and try this out again. Don't screw it up, Devin. Well, the first thing I'm going to start off with is the thing that everybody wants the absolute most by a lot, and that is the legendary werewolf. We're going to call this thing Ulrich Elite Guardian. Ulrich has already been referenced in other cards, and there's Ulrich's Kindred in Shadows over Innistrad. And you get to see him in the background of Kindred there, at least I think that's him. But this is Ulrich Elite Guardian. He's a red and a green, that's 2 mana for a 2/3 legendary human werewolf with Trample and Menace. And whenever a werewolf enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay a red and a green, his casting cost again. If you do, you transform him. He transforms into Ulrich Krallen Horde Alpha. He's a 3/3 legendary werewolf with wolves and werewolves you control get +1/+1, and if a creature you control would transform, you may choose not to transform it. Let's talk about the unflipped half first, Ulrich Elite Guardian. A 2 mana 2/3 is something we see a lot of in the format. I don't think that's too busted. And Trample is sort of a throwaway ability. It doesn't even cost a full mana, as far as I'm concerned, in design space. But Menace is a very good ability that I think sort of helps to push the unflipped side of this. The earliest you're going to flip this guy is turn 3. Turn 2 Ulrich, turn 3 Village Messenger, and flip the Ulrich. Which is not bad, but this thing flips well on turn 4, 5, and 6 as well. I like this as a combat trick alongside Silver for Partisan. So at that point you could always swing in and then Titan Strength, one of your wolves. That'll create a 2/2 token from the Silver for Partisan. Hey, look at that. A wolf came into play. Pay 2 mana, flip your Ulrich over, and give all your wolves +1/+1 during combat. And that doesn't seem bad at all. But the #1 most requested thing as far as this legendary werewolf, and people wanted Eldritch Moon in a card. And the #1 most requested thing in both of those was that it allow you to not transform creatures that would otherwise transform. So I've slapped that on this guy. I think that it works really well, actually, because he'll transform, and then anything else that transforms for the rest of the game, you don't have to transform back. That's just very nice to not have to worry about the constant, oh my god, my guys are going to have to transform again with wolves. That's just nice to have that stability in a wolves deck. Overall, I think it's solid without being extremely broken or anything, and it would be playable in Commander, as sort of a wolf lord. Not bad at all. So let me know how you feel about Ulrich and what you would change, because I don't think that he breaks anything as far as I can tell, but is he good enough is the question. Just based on pure stats alone, I think he's definitely pushed. But, all-star or anything, I don't know if he makes the red-green werewolves deck real in and of himself, but probably does push the deck a good ways and gives it a decent 2-drop, something the deck really needs. Another thing that was requested an awful lot as far as these, which I didn't expect at all, was that we wanted a legendary spider. That's something people want that very, very badly. So I did my best here. Here's what we've come up with. This is Serachne Feed Mother. That's 7 mana, 4 generic, 2 green, and a black. Want a green-black spider for Commander so that we can expand our color options. It's a 6/8 legendary spider lord with reach, and it can block any number of creatures. Those are the spider abilities. When Serachne Feed Mother enters the battlefield, put 4 1/1 green spider creature tokens onto the battlefield under your control. Those tokens have sacrificed this creature, gain 2 life. Well, obviously this would be played in Commander as a Spider Lord. We just have to get that out of the way. That's one of the reasons people want it, so they can play spiders in Commander. I don't blame you. And in this way we have 2 different colors for our color identity. That could work out fairly well. But the things I'm worried about here, or most concerned with at least in the designing of the card, is a good reanimation piece. Very good reanimation piece here. At least in Standard. I don't know if it has the power in Modern, but we'll see. Or at least we would see. We won't actually see because this card's probably not going to get made. A lot of the Cryptolith Rites decks are trying to figure out a good 7-mana piece to play. A lot of them are landing on Dragon Lord Atarka. I don't think that would change. I think the Rites decks would still play Atarka. But this would give us another 7-mana piece that synergizes with some things, you know. These sacrificable Spider tokens would synergize very well with Zulaport Cutthroat, for instance. Obviously, that would work. And the fact that it gives us a bunch of tokens all at once. It gives us 5 creatures, which is exactly as many as we need for Westvale Abbey. So there's that too. Aside from that, it's just a big creature that's good on defense or offense. You know, big creature to swing in with, big butt to block all their guys with. And it allows us to gain a little bit of life back and get back in the game at that point. And block some guys, sacrifice our dudes, sort of Bottle Gnome style, you know. I think there's a lot of good things about the card as a reanimation piece. Not bad. You know, it's something that we can sort of ramp into play. Not bad. But it does compete with things that are probably better than it, i.e. Worldbreaker mostly and Atarka mostly. So, not sure it would see play even immediately in Standard, but I feel like the card is fairly balanced without being insane, although it might be insane. The other things that I was mostly asked about were all Planeswalkers. People really wanted Planeswalkers here, so I've got 3 in a row for you. Bear with me. The first thing that people wanted, sort of, the Planeswalker people wanted least, but I still saw a lot of, was Tibble. Bring back Tibble. And I had to look this up. Is he dead? Apparently Tibble is not necessarily dead. that's we don't know. There's no body, so we don't know. But he did have a big battle with Sorin, and Sorin kicked his ass, basically. Is he dead? We don't know. Probably not. But either way, dead or not, here's my take on Tibble, and I've got some flavor things to talk about, but I'll tell you what the card does first. He costs a red and a black. We're going to keep him at 2 mana, so that's Tibble's draw. He's a 2-mana Planeswalker. He's got a loyalty of 2, very low starting loyalty. +1, draw a card, then discard a card. Works with Madness, obviously. -2, target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. If that creature is a vampire, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn instead. And his -5 is you get an emblem with each card in your hand has Madness. Its Madness cost is equal to its mana cost. A couple of flavor things I just want to get through here before I talk about the actual card, because I think the flavor is fun, or at least what I've cooked up here. Let's say that Sorin does beat him within an inch of his life. You know, he's about to die, he's mortally wounded, and in desperation he gets a vampire to bite him, perhaps forcibly, and Tibble becomes a vampire. That would be cool, because then, you know, obviously Sorin's a vampire. He thinks you can't beat him, join him. He then can befriend the vampires, because apparently the vampires now hate Sorin. So he could befriend the vampires, turn them all against Sorin, and just sort of be their new leader. I like the flavor of this a lot, but then again, I came up with it. So, you know, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it does give us a way to give him a cool -2 where we can either kill a small creature or give one of our creatures a buff. I like the extra mileage out of that. And it makes his -2 not so boring. You know, if it was just, you know, -2 to -2/-2 a creature, that would be fairly boring. His +1 ability this time drops the at random from the clause from his last one, making the card much better. And I like what Wizards has been doing with ultimates on a few Planeswalkers lately, namely Gideon and Chandra, where you can just ultimate them when they hit the board. You can't do that with Tibble, but he still has a fairly low loyalty to get to his ultimate, and would work very well in these sort of vampire aggro decks. I just don't know that he's the 2-drop we want in vampire aggro. He might be, say, the thing we play on turn 4 in vampire aggro. Don't know if he's the 2-drop, though. Let me know if you see this card as being good, or if it would see play, or if it's just as bad as the old Tibble. I don't think it's as bad as the old Tibble at all, but is it pushed enough, or is it, again, is it too good? Another Planeswalker absolutely everyone wants to see, because it's pretty much open and shut that we'll get a version of her in the set. We just all want to know what she looks like, is Liliana. So, with that in mind, this is Liliana the Cursed right here. She costs 2 and 2 black. That's 4 mana altogether. She has a starting loyalty of 4. For +1, you can make target player discard a card. -3 is destroy target non-black, non-artifact creature. She terrors things. And her -5, again with the -5, is return target creature from a graveyard to the battlefield under your control. Now the idea with this Lily is I just wanted her to do all the best black stuff, you know. Just a really pushed for competitive play version of Lily here, who synergizes with herself. You know, turn 4 you play your Lily, you go ahead and +1 it, make yourself discard a fat creature, and then turn 5 you can just wipe the loyalty counters off of her and then put that big fat creature into play. That's kind of neat. It also allows you to reanimate something on turn 5, which is where Wizards wants us to reanimate things, is turn 5. But you'll have all your mana open to do other stuff. Say protect the creature, play another creature. So that would also look pretty good, I think. Is the card too pushed? I'm not sure. I think that her way of protecting herself is fairly, you know, restricted. There's a lot of black creatures, but not a ton in the format. And there's really not that many artifact creatures. You know, Hangerback Walker right now, but that'll only be in standard for another few months after Moon comes out. So I'm not sure if the card is too pushed or not pushed enough, you know. Obviously, there's lots of tricks. You know, it allows us to madness stuff out of our own hand. Also allows us to, again, reanimate things really easily. We can kill something with her second ability and then reanimate it later with her last ability. So I think this is what I want a Liliana to look like. I just don't know if the card is too good or not. It's really hard to evaluate Planeswalkers, especially ones you've made yourself. So let me know how you feel about this one. One more Planeswalker here, and the thing people want to see most by a lot is Tamiyo. Tamiyo by a mile, you guys. This one is Tamiyo, Spirit of the Moon. She is also a 4-mana, 4 loyalty Planeswalker. 2 and 2 blue for starting loyalty of 4. Her +2 is you put a clue token on the battlefield under your control. You get a clue. You can -3 her to tap up to 2 target permanents. They don't untap during their controller's next untap step. Sort of an expanded version of her plus ability from her last Planeswalker. And then her -8, her ultimate, is you get an emblem with at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control 10 or more clues, you win the game. Now, when I asked you what cards you wanted, a lot of you said Tamiyo, and multiple, you know, 2 of you, I think it was, said that this should be featured, her ultimate, on the card in some way or another. You know, 10 clues wins you the game somehow or another. And I had this card designed slightly differently when I first cooked her up. Her -3 was actually just return all creatures to their owner's hands, which I thought was probably way too powerful. So I've made it sort of an advanced freeze ability that freezes 2 things, you know. Ultimately, though, I think this is a good way of getting this win condition out there without it being too incredibly powerful, although this might be pretty darn powerful. But getting 10 clues on the battlefield is probably a little bit harder than it looks, takes a fair amount of time, and your opponent can probably disrupt it a few ways, not to mention they can just kill Tamiyo before she ultimates, which is probably what's going to happen 9 times out of 10. But even then, the card is fine, because it'll generate card advantage for you. It gets, you know, 2 loyalty out of its first plus ability, so it's not a totally bad ability. Not only will you get a clue token, you'll also get 2 loyalty. But she also protects herself fairly well, tapping down 2 creatures for a whole turn cycle. So I think the card is good. I don't think it's too good. I think this is about where we'd want to be. But the #1 thing that people wanted, almost just without question, is Emrakul. A lot of people pointed out that the clue mystery has all but been solved. It's probably Emrakul. Remember, they came as 3. So where's Emrakul? Probably lurking in the next set. Here's my version of Emrakul. In this version, she's lost a little bit of power since her last incarnation, but still very powerful. This is Emrakul, Summoner's Sin. She's a 13-mana, 13/13 legendary creature Eldrazi. That guy was right to have Triskaidekaphobia. 13 is going to kill us all. Emrakul's Summoner's Sin can't be countered. That's, you know, she keeps that ability. She's got Flying, Trample, and Indestructible. And here's where she gets neat. When Emrakul Summoner's Sin enters the battlefield, if you did not cast it from your hand, take an extra turn after this one. She also has, when Emrakul attacks, exile target creature or planeswalker. Mostly I wanted to give this a really good synergy with Nahiri. If you can ultimate Nahiri, you can put this right into play. Take an extra turn after that turn, you know. You'll get to attack with it and it pops back to your hand. So lots of good things about that, and it's obviously a good reanimation target too. Ulamog and Kozilek are specifically not great reanimation targets because you don't get the cast trigger off of them. I wanted to make an Eldrazi that is a good reanimation target in this standard, and even in modern. So I went with this here because you'll get the extra turn, and that can probably be absolutely ludicrous and possibly broken. Of all these cards, I think this is the most likely to be broken. Just let me know if it is or not, basically. And like I said, she's lost a little bit of power, so she's not a 15 mana 15/15 anymore. She's lost a little bit of power on that end, and she doesn't have like Annihilator a million like she had before. This time, you just swing with her and exile a creature or planeswalker. That's all she has the power for now. But still, when I say all she has the power for, Emrakul is obviously still insanely powerful. I just get this idea that she's been languishing in another dimension for a while, and as such, she's lost some power. So I keep repeating that phrase, but for story reasons, that's just how I feel like it would be. Maybe I'm crazy. That was a quick video. That's all I've got for now, and there's probably 5 or 10 more of these we could do, you know, but spoilers will be coming out very, very soon now. That's why I wanted to go ahead and kick this video out. Hope I didn't mess up any rules or anything this time. I'm pretty sure I didn't. And I also hope that none of these cards are insanely broken or anything like that. If you enjoyed the content, I sincerely hope you did. Like it, share it, comment on it, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys later. Coming up very soon, I've got State of the Brunion. That'll be State of Standard number 4. That's where I give you the top 5 decks in Standard right now, so subscribe for that content and a lot more deck techs coming up, and Eldritch Moon spoilers, lots of stuff happening very soon, so sub for all of that, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, my wizards.